West Virginia, remember your history. Our state is built upon a rock called equality. The farmer, the miner, the working class are we. We are better together, already great, have hope and believe. West Virginia, rise up. Rise up, my people. West Virginia, rise up. Rise up, my people. West Virginia, rise up. Rise up, my people. Mountaineers are always free. It's time to stand up. Mountaineers, it's time to lead.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, my name is Reverend Matthew J. Watts. I'm the senior pastor and the teacher of the Grace Bible Church of Charleston, and I serve as the president and CEO of Hope Community Development Corporation, a nonprofit organization on the west side of Charleston. I've been invited here today by Ms. Belinda Bealford to offer an invocational prayer and to share some words of challenge and encouragement. Can we bow for prayer? Father, we bow before you, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Thank you for this time we have together today. Bless the gathering of these West Virginia Democrats as they come together to plan, organize, strategize, cast a vision as to how they can better serve the people of the great state of West Virginia. We pray that everything that is done and said will be pleasing and acceptable in your sight. For it's in Jesus' name we pray and give thanks. Amen. Again, welcome everyone and good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Belinda Bealford for extending to me the invitation to come to be with you. Ms. Cleo Matthews, who recommended me, my good friend Bill Sohanich, who strongly encouraged me to accept the invitation. I want to talk from a simple theme this morning of a light of hope in the midst of darkness. A light of hope in the midst of darkness. The recent epic coronavirus pandemic has magnified the seriousness of West Virginia's health, mental health, and public health crisis, particularly among African Americans and low-income Caucasians across our state. And this pandemic has spread across our nation, across the globe. Under the looming ominous shadow created by the cloud of COVID-19, Mr. George Floyd, a 46-year-old man from Minneapolis, Minnesota, was brutally asphyxiated under the knee of a Minneapolis police officer. After 8 minutes and 46 seconds of agonizing horror, Mr. George Floyd was relieved of his suffering as he lost consciousness and slipped into eternity. Mr. Floyd's death was captured by an onlooker on a cell phone video. This video went viral around the world and has served as a catalyst to ignite a justice movement around the world for Black people under the anthem of Black Lives Matters. George Floyd, an ordinary brother who was lynched at a curbside, but whose death has launched a worldwide movement. As a native West Virginian who has lived 95% of his life in West Virginia, I've never really felt valued by the people in West Virginia, particularly those in the upper echelon of power, economic, political, social, cultural power. As a matter of fact, I felt like that individuals like me who have a tendency to think with their own mind and to speak their own truth was more tolerated than celebrated as native sons or daughters who chose to spend their lives here in service. My response has been just simply pick myself up, dust myself off, crawl back in the arena of ideas, and postulate the solutions I believe that could best serve the problems of our great state. Over the past 20 years plus, I've given my best thoughts and my best efforts to work and to engage with the West Virginia legislators, the executives, to develop and shape public policy and to create a framework to address poverty, substance abuse, and other social determinants of health through a comprehensive community development model that can improve public health. Over that 20-year period, I've had a ringside seat to be an eyewitness and an observer of the apathetic indifference and callous disregard of both Democrats and Republican governors, Democrat and Republican legislators to the health, public health, and mental health crisis among African Americans and low-income Caucasians. This crisis existed long before opioid emerged, but has been exacerbated by the opioid crisis, one must admit. The COVID-19 pandemic has magnified and further exposed West Virginia's health crisis, as evidenced by West Virginia being dubbed by many public health experts as the state's most likely to be ravaged by the coronavirus pandemic. So why is this the case? Why are we so unhealthy and why are we so vulnerable? Well, it's time for us as Democrats to acknowledge what we know to be true, even if others will not acknowledge it, and that is West Virginia's poor community population health crisis is directly related to poverty. Poverty is the great elephant in the room that many want to ignore. Poverty is the 7-letter word that most politicians do not want to utter in political stump speeches or place in political ads because it doesn't poll well. But West Virginia Democrats must acknowledge that until West Virginia addresses poverty, it will not move forward economically or socially. The unwillingness of politicians to include addressing poverty as a part of their political pitch would not make poverty disappear. You cannot just make 330,000 people living in poverty disappear in West Virginia. Over 300,000 who are Caucasian and around 30,000 who are African Americans. Systemic generational poverty is the underlying condition at the root of much of the poor community and population health outcomes we have in West Virginia. Poverty is also the underlying condition that contributes to much of our social inequalities in other areas, including family breakdown, substance misuse, domestic violence, child abuse and neglect, low educational achievement, truancy, school drops out, juvenile delinquency, crime, prison overcrowding, unemployment, underemployment, low labor force participation, and economic stagnation. So where do we as Democrats, where do we go from here? Well, I'm glad that someone asked that question. West Virginia Democrats must recognize that to include a commitment to address poverty as a plank in its political platform is to say to the 300,000 Caucasian whites and over 30,000 African Americans living in poverty that you count, that you matter to West Virginia Democrats. West Virginia Democrats must recognize that the epic novel coronavirus and the national social unrest that we're currently going through, that has been ignited by the brutal murder of Brother Floyd, provides a dramatic and a profound ideal backdrop for West Virginia Democrats to showcase that we are the party for the people. The dark cloud of COVID-19 and the social unrest that hovers over our nation has resulted in anxiety and fear and uncertainty among the citizenry. The turbulent and troubling times should serve as an emergency siren alarm signaling West Virginia Democrats it's time for us to rise out of our political slumber and to take our place in the political social arena of the exchange of ideas and light a candle of hope and cast a vision for a better day. A candle of hope, a light of hope that illuminates love and compassion and concern that we have as West Virginia Democrats, that shines brightly and brilliantly to dispel the darkness which perpetuates hopelessness and despair, prejudice and discrimination and bigotry, economic exploitation and injustice, which serves as the fuel to perpetuate poverty, which suffocates families and communities. West Virginia Democrats must shine a light into these dark places and offer hope to the least, the last, the left out, the left behind, the marginalized, and the excluded citizenry. West Virginia Democrats must reach with intentionality to our most challenged citizens and say, you matter, you count to us. The 150,000 felons who are relegated to partial citizenship and who are trapped on that lonely island of poverty in the vast ocean of material prosperity, we must reach out to them. The 116,000 18 to 24-year-olds, many who are discontented and disconcerted with the political system and the political process, who've lost confidence in the whole system because they believe that it's rigged, we must reach out to them and say, give us a chance to show you that we are a party of integrity. We must reach out to the 50,000 18 to 24-year-old disconnected young adults who are not in school, who are not working, many who have aged out of the child foster care system and the juvenile justice system and have been left to fend for themselves. West Virginia Democrats must say to each individual within these groups, you matter, you count, we need you, we are fighting for you. Come and join with us in this fight against racism, against social and economic injustice, and fight for the soul of our state and for the soul of our nation. Just as George Floyd was asphyxiated of breath by the oppressive knee of a cold, calloused police officer on his neck, the knee restricted the flow of blood carrying oxygen to and from his heart and brain. The 335,000 poor West Virginia blacks and Caucasians are being asphyxiated of breath, the breath of hope, by the oppressive, callous knee of poverty and bigotry. And can you not hear them silently crying out, we can't breathe? Hope is the oxygen that sustains the human will to live and to persevere through hardship and adversity. It is also the oxygen that sustains the American democracy. Hope flowing through the veins of the citizenry, the people, it oxygenates the organs of our democracy. When people lose hope, we will lose our democracy. Poverty, racism, bigotry, sexism, classism, any of these other isms threatens to asphyxiate and to suffocate the democracy. With nearly 20% of our population living in poverty, that is a threat to our democracy. When African American, low-income, and Caucasian low-income children are denied a full education, a full, efficient, and thorough education, through excessive discipline and disproportionate suspension and expulsion from school, it's a threat to our democracy. When African American men and women and low-income men and women, and when the LGBT community citizens are denied equal opportunity and equal access to equal protection of the law, it is a threat to our democracy. So where do we go from here, West Virginia Democrats? We must recognize that the oppressive knee of poverty and racism and bigotry on the necks of West Virginia citizens, low-income Caucasians, and African Americans threatens to asphyxiate, to suffocate 335,000 West Virginians. But we West Virginia Democrats, we must remove this oppressive knee. And we must do more than have soaring rhetoric like I've articulated today. We must have specific steps to remove this oppressive knee of poverty, racism, and bigotry off the necks of our people. Here are three things that we should consider as policy positions in the Democratic platform. To support the HOPE 2020 Economic Justice and Equity Fund and movement that would request that 20% of the $1.25 billion, $250 million be set aside to address poverty and other social determinants of health in the 220 census tracts across West Virginia that have poverty rates 20% or higher. To support the creation of a commission to focus on community and population health improvement and health equity, to focus on improving the health of our people. And thirdly, support for a commission to end the schoolyard to prison yard pipeline, to end the excessive discipline and disproportionate suspension and expulsion of African American and low-income Caucasian children that's breaking their spirits and that's suffocating them. Where do we go from here, West Virginia Democrats? This is the hour in which we live. It's a trilogy of horror, a health pandemic, an economic pandemic, social unrest pandemic. But we as West Virginia Democrats must look to our rich past and draw strength to calibrate us in the present and to propel us in the future. We must be reminded that it's the Democrat that delivered the New Deal. It's the Democrats that delivered Social Security. It's the Democrats that delivered the integrated military. It's the Democrats that delivered the Civil Rights Acts of '64. It's the Democrats that delivered the Voters' Rights Acts of 1965. Democrats delivered massive education reform in the '60s. Democrats brought the American with Disabilities Act. Democrats brought the Fair Housing Law. Democrats provided and moved forth environmental protection legislation. And Democrats delivered the Affordable Care Act. We Democrats, we have been the party of the people. Democrats now must light a light of hope for the people. And we must cast a vision that can lead out our state out of this trilogy of horror, the darkness and despair of this trilogy, out of the current unsettling, unnerving, turbulent storm of the current health pandemic and the economic pandemic and the social unrest pandemic. We as Democrats must cast a vision, and we must provide the direction to lead our state and our people into the bright sunlight of health and economic justice, racial justice, and equity for all. Now is our time to stand in the arena of conflict of ideas and to cast a vision, to cast a narrative that clearly points the way. And in the words of that statesman, Nehemiah of old, when he looked at the conditions of Jerusalem, the beloved city, and he said to the people, you see the distress that we're in? The walls are down, the gates are consumed with fire. Come, let us rebuild the walls, that we no longer be a disgrace.
Hello, state delegates. I want to thank you all for joining us this morning, and I want to thank each and every one of you for participating in this important process. It was very important to us that 2020 continue to be a year that we're going to create real change, and even with the devastating COVID-19 outbreak, things look a little different, and that's okay. I know this isn't how we had hoped to have our convention this year, but we're here and we are together. In 2020, we're seeing people stand up and demand change. We're seeing our fellow Americans say enough is enough. We stand with you. We are listening. I want you all to take a moment of silence for George Floyd and the black men and women who have lost their lives at the hands of racism and hate. Some of their names we know, and most of them we don't. We must end brutality and hate. We must recognize the work, both inward and outward, it takes, and we must demand justice and demand change. "2020 is critical. Donald Trump's candidacy in 2016 was the most hateful and divisive campaign we have seen in our lifetimes. His presidency has been just that, if not worse. We've seen the division he has brought to our country, we've seen the suffering of our fellow Americans, and we will not allow this to go on any longer. We must unify together, and we must support our Democratic nominees in November. We're all here to do just that. All of you who've signed up to represent your county as state delegates and run for national delegates, thank you. I'm glad and I'm proud to be a part of this with you. I join with you today with enthusiasm and hope that we will win in November and we will see true change. Thank you all for joining us today. Please stay with us and stay tuned to hear from some pretty great friends and Democrats. We're all in this together, and together we will win in November."
Hello, West Virginia Democrats. To introduce myself, my name is Will, and I'm the Southern Regional for the Association of State Democratic Committees. Our association is dedicated to supporting your efforts, along with those of every other state party around the country. We are here to help and collectively advocate on your behalf. I'd like to thank Chairwoman Viafor, Vice Chair Senator Laird, the entire staff of the West Virginia Democratic Party, as well as all of you participating here in this convention online today. While I'm disappointed that I wasn't able to join you in person and meet so many of you, I wanted to wish you well and say that I hope you have an amazing convention today. While there's a lot of work to do before Election Day, and the work that you do at the state convention is extremely important, I know that the West Virginia Democratic Party is in amazing hands with a terrific staff and Chairwoman Viafor helping leading the way. As always, we're here to support your efforts, and again, thank you so much for showing up online today and everything that you will do between now and Election Day to support Democratic candidates at all levels of office. Thank you.
Hello, West Virginia Democrats. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to join you for this very important event. First and foremost, we hope you and your loved ones are healthy and safe as we ride out this pandemic together and apart. Our hearts are heavy for the people who've lost loved ones to COVID-19 and for all those who've been hurt by this pandemic. Over 100,000 Americans have lost their lives. Tens of millions of Americans have lost their jobs and their savings. And we need to be there for each other as we work to recover and rebuild. Now is a time to be together, not apart. I also want to address the horrific tragedy that happened recently in Minnesota with the senseless killing of George Floyd. I've spent a substantial portion of my career prosecuting police misconduct cases. And this is another sobering reminder of the violence that African American men face all too frequently in America. And yet, this president has done nothing to heal these wounds. Instead, he has sown division. He has advocated violence against protesters rather than condemning the violence that launched these protests in the first place. We need a healer in chief, not a divider in chief. And America's hurting right now. Our African American brothers and sisters are hurting. We will not heal as a nation through silence, but through justice, through progress, through activism and action. So as long as African American men and women cannot breathe, our democracy cannot breathe. It's clearer than ever that we still have a long way to go to root out the poison of racism that pervades every aspect of our society. But I've seen countless heroes rise to the occasion in the face of these tragedies. And so I know there is hope here. We must press ahead. And you know why I am hopeful? It's because of all of you. By working to elect Democrats up and down the ballot, you will help start a new chapter in our nation's journey to form a more perfect union. One defined by equality, justice, and opportunity for everyone. I know this is not how you plan to hold your state convention this year. And I thank you for putting your health above anything else. And I cannot thank your chairman enough. Belinda Beaufort has been a rock star. And I appreciate all you're doing to make sure that this convention is happening. The work of your chairwoman and the West Virginia Democratic Party staff has been remarkable. It wasn't an easy task, but hard work and dedication made it happen. In times of turbulence, sound judgment matters. And we're reminded of how important it is to elect Democrats at all levels of government. The state of West Virginia is fortunate to have leaders like Joe Manchin, State Treasurer John Perdue, and so many other members of the state Senate and House of Delegates fighting for West Virginians. We're living in trying times right now here in America. From West Virginia to the White House, the Republican Party puts greed and self-interest ahead of the people they were elected to serve. And as soon as Donald Trump took office, we were thrust into a world where hate was at the forefront of the Republican agenda, and facts and truth were cast aside as inconvenient. Imagine the lives we could have saved during this pandemic if we had a president who had taken immediate and decisive action, who had listened to the experts instead of denying science, who had put the well-being of Americans above all of his political agendas. Imagine if Joe Biden had been president, a steady hand at the tiller. Thousands of Americans would still be alive today, and millions would still have their jobs. That's why I'm counting on you with such a sense of urgency. We must get Joe Biden in the White House, and we will. I've known Joe Biden for almost 25 years. I had the privilege of working with him in the Obama administration. I had the privilege of working with him when he was on the Senate Judiciary Committee, and I worked for Senator Ted Kennedy on that Judiciary Committee staff. He is a man of integrity. For more than half a century, he has fought for the underdog, from lifting up workers and middle-class families to protecting survivors of domestic abuse through the landmark Violence Against Women Act, to leading the fight against the NRA and the gun lobby in the United States Senate. And as Labor Secretary under Barack Obama, I got to see firsthand Vice President Biden's invaluable leadership as he helped lift our economy out of a recession. rescue the auto industry from collapse, and expand access to coverage in healthcare for millions of Americans, including those with pre-existing conditions. Joe Biden is a uniter. He has the empathy, the compassion, the accomplishment, the intellect, the experience to get the job done. He is Donald Trump's worst nightmare. The choice for the American people couldn't be clearer. Donald Trump is a man of chaos and cruelty. He's chronically ineffective at everything he has done. Joe Biden is a man of character and compassion. Donald Trump has failed every test of presidential leadership and broken just about every promise he's made, including during this public health crisis. Joe Biden has a decades-long record of delivering results for the American people. He's looking out for people like you. And the American people need bold leadership at this moment. They want a president who has their back. And that's why they're ready to elect Joe Biden and Democrats across the ballot. West Virginia Democrats will be critical to ensuring these victories. Your chairwoman told me that West Virginians are the most honest and hardworking people who, no matter the obstacle, will come together to overcome any challenge. That's why I know West Virginia Democrats will unify together and win in November. Let's do it together. Let's take back our democracy. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I wish that this year we were meeting under different circumstances. Separated from one another by a deadly virus, more than 100,000 lives lost, many needlessly, because of the lack of movement on the part of the administration. Millions out of work, and once again, the words, "I can't breathe," echoing in our ears as we watch the brutal, horrifying killing of George Floyd. It's outrageous and enraging. None of us can turn away. None of us can be silent. We're dealing with multiple national crises. We need leadership right now. Leadership that will bring everyone to the table so that we can take measure to root out systemic racism. It's time for us to take a hard look at the uncomfortable truth. It's time for us to face the deep, open wound of systemic racism in this nation. Nothing about this is going to be easy or comfortable. But if we simply allow this wound to scab over once more without treating the underlying injury, we're never going to truly heal. The very soul of America is at stake. That's why I'm running for president. And that's why I stand united with every single Democrat behind our mission to beat Donald Trump and restore real leadership to the White House. We have to do more than just beat Trump. We have to keep the House, and we have to win back the United States Senate. We have to lead, deliver meaningful change for people that are hurting all across the nation. And that means we need strong state parties to win up and down the ticket. The stakes in this election have never been higher for our country. So we have to work harder than ever. We need to stand up as a nation, stand with the Black community, stand with minority communities, and come together as one America to deliver justice for all Americans. And if we stand together, we're going to win the battle for the soul of this nation. We need to do this, and we can do it. We've never failed when we've worked together. So thank you, and may God bless our troops.
Hello, everybody. It's Joe here, and I wish that we could all be together in the same room today. Coming together after a successful primary election is always so exciting. I commend each and every person who put their name on the ballot. It takes courage today to engage in the political process, especially when rhetoric can be so toxic. Also, I thank all of the families of every candidate because running for office is truly a family affair. We have our work cut out for us in the next 5 months, and we are facing so many crises right now. The health crisis of a global pandemic, and the financial crisis of unemployment, and a fragile economy, and a social crisis caused by generations of racism. We also face a crisis in our leadership, and it is clear now more than ever that we need new leadership, nationally and in this state. We can do that by working together and uniting behind our candidates, who all ran very good races. To be successful in November, you have to get your message out. There's always a saying, tell your story before someone tells one on you. You have to show that you're running to serve West Virginians, and you have to show your true West Virginia values, who you are. Together we've got to speak out and shine some sunlight on things that are wrong. We have to do that by using facts instead of rhetoric. I intend to keep doing that, starting with the $1.25 billion that Congress appropriated to every state in CARES funding that sits unspent 2 months later in the state checking account. It's just not right that our health departments have to cut services while there's money available right now to help them. Our counties and municipalities shouldn't have to worry about cutting essential services when the federal government has given the governor, Justice, in our state $1.25 billion to keep everything running, intended to be used for the communities and municipalities. We have flood survivors who are still waiting for benefits for their homes to be built 4 years later. We have coal jobs at their lowest in history. Yet we have both national and state leaderships giving our people false promises and hope. Those are just several examples of what happens when you have people in leadership positions who put self-service in front of public service. And it's our job to get people elected and get back to good government. I have always said the best politics is good government. You all can see that we do not have good government right now. All of our candidates ran really good races. They were tough races this year. But now it's time to put our differences aside and work to get good people elected by working together. It's time for all of us to come together for one purpose, and that's serving the great people of West Virginia. Thank you. God bless each and every one of you, and I'm behind you. As my grandfather said, I'll be behind you until your chest hurts. Thank you, and God bless you.
Hey, big hello to all our West Virginia Democratic friends. I'm so pumped up for you there. This is obviously a unique time. I don't know where you're watching this from. I'm in Youngstown, Ohio, just outside of Youngstown, Ohio. I just wanted to give a quick word. My name is Congressman Tim Ryan, and I'm so proud of the Democrats down in West Virginia. I know it's a tough area to campaign down there, but I think, we've got a lot to say, and we've got a lot to do for people in places like West Virginia. As you know, this by far is the most important election we're ever going to run in our country's history. There's a lot on the ballot here, and we need you all to participate every single day. We need you to play offense, not sit back and have people tell us that West Virginia is not in play or Ohio's not in play. It's time for us to start playing offense. The needs of the people of West Virginia, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, whether it's justice issues, we're here, and it's the Democratic Party. And I remember the days when West Virginia was a strong Democratic state, and we got to get those days back. I'm so proud of all of you. Keep up the great work. We got a lot of work ahead of us between now and November, but let's play offense everywhere we can. And it's those issues of education and healthcare and justice reform that are on the ballot. And we are the party of the future. And we need West Virginia to be there. God bless all of you. Let's make it a winner.
We're here today to say thank you to our essential workers.
From the ambulance drivers to the nurses to the doctors, from the school service personnel and the teachers, and from everybody in between, including the store clerks.
All of you that serve this great state as essential workers, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
All first line personnel in any capacity who's out there working really hard for this pandemic.
Especially those folks who have little children and are not able to see their children because they're working in hospitals and clinics day in and day out providing care to all West Virginians.
Thank y'all very much. Stay West Virginia strong.
I miss my students, and I would like to thank all of the cooks and bus drivers for helping my students in need.
Thank you, nurses, doctors, and people who make the world safe, especially my mommy because she's a nurse.
Thank you, front lines. It's much appreciated, and be safe out there.
We want to take this opportunity to thank our first responders in the state of West Virginia who are working so hard to keep us safe throughout this pandemic.
To all our essential workers, we humbly and gratefully thank you for risking your lives to save ours.
We won't forget, you've always been essential. That's the darn truth.
I was gonna say thank you for saving us from the coronavirus, the firefighters and police officers and grocery guys and grocery girls. We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We need your help to get Democrats elected up and down the ballot. Donate now. Log on to wvdemocrats.com. Then click Contribute in the drop-down menu. Your donation will go towards ensuring that good Democrats get elected and continue fighting for the working families of West Virginia.
Thank all West Virginia Democrats for your work to grow our party and our cause. And I'm honored to be the Democratic nominee to replace Jim Justice. We had a hard-fought primary, but now we must come together to move our state forward. And I want to thank and congratulate Stephen Smith, Senator Ron Stallings, Jody Murphy, and Douglas Hughes on well-run campaigns. We were able to stay positive and focus on the issues that unite all of West Virginia. We're in challenging times, and West Virginia needs new leadership. We need a leader who's going to bring us all together. I'll be a governor who actually gets things done. Paid family leave, create good paying jobs, save our rural hospitals, rebuild our economy, pay raises for teachers and school service personnel, and fix our infrastructure. West Virginians have had enough empty talk, backroom deals, and broken promises from Jim Justice. 2020 is the year that we turn the page and build a new future for our state and for our party. I'll be a governor who's focused on public service and not self-service. I've spent my entire career fighting for the little guy and holding the powerful accountable. I'll be transparent, honest, and I'll show up for work every single day. I want West Virginians to know that I'll be working for them and not special interest, because we deserve a governor that makes our state proud. When I'm governor, West Virginia families will be put at the front of the line. I want to lead our party winning races up and down the ballot. We can only be successful if we make gains in the Senate, the House, and at the local level. So let's use 2020 as an opportunity to rebuild our party and rebuild our state. We can only beat Jim Justice if we are unified and focus on grassroots organizing. Thank you all for your commitment for working families and to the state of West Virginia. I won't back down from a tough fight, and I'm honored to have everyone in my corner as we head into the fall election. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm John Perdue, your state treasurer. Once again, asking for your help and support. It's an honor to be able to run again as your state treasurer. I hope you stay safe out there, and I hope you realize the importance of this election coming in November, and will get out and vote.
Hello everyone, I'm Natalie Tennant. I greet you in hopes that you are doing well and you and your family are safe. I know our spirit, our faith, and our determination have been tested over the last couple of weeks and months for many different reasons. I also know that we are strong and resilient, and I've found that we can adapt too. A couple of months ago, if you would have asked us what Zoom was, we would have probably said a car going by really fast. And now it seems like it's our main mode of communication. I've been on plenty of Zoom conference calls with you, whether it was Jefferson County, Marshall, Wood, Greenbrier, Tucker, or in Kanawha. We have found ways to see and talk to each other. I'm proud that you are willing to challenge and test yourself. We will need that in the next couple of months. I do miss seeing all of you and celebrating our state at our many rallies, picnics, fairs, and festivals, as we've done so many times in the past. It is that sense of togetherness that must keep us focused on the work ahead. I'm running again for Secretary of State because, like you, I want a West Virginia that welcomes businesses and diversity, respects our workers, embraces innovation, allows West Virginians to grow in a place where you can take care of your family, have a good paying job, and a great quality of life. And all of this in partnership with elected officials who care about you. I showed that as Secretary of State by showing respect to our state employees and businesses, by modernizing, streamlining the office, saving money, and returning it to taxpayers. Whether it was starting the one-stop business shop, cutting fees, or making it easier for veterans to start a business. I did all of this by working in a bipartisan manner. It is so important to work across party lines for the betterment of our state. I've done it before and I'll do it again. That is why if I'm back in the Secretary of State's office, here's the next thing I'll do. I will implement automated voter registration. It was passed by Republicans and Democrats 4 years ago, but it hasn't been started yet. You are the ones losing out because it's just more efficient and it would benefit all eligible voters, no matter their party. I have a reputation for having forward-thinking ideas, like online voter registration. Thank goodness I had the courage to implement it many years ago. It's what we're using now as we rely so much on technology and online services. It's what I'll do next. I'll be brave so West Virginia can be bold. It will take courage, vision, and cooperation. I know you all have plenty of that. We'll need it to work together as we're making phone calls, getting people out to vote, and making sure our message of putting people first is heard. I know we can do this, West Virginia. I believe in you.
My name is Marianne Clater, and I am proud to be coming to you today as the Democratic nominee for State Auditor. This is a position that requires a leader with the right skills. In the hands of the current auditor, audits are even further behind than they were in 2016. Did you know that as of March 31st of 2020, that 45% of the fiscal year 2018 county audits and 40% of the municipalities for the same fiscal year have not been completed and released to the public? I may not have a political communications degree like the current auditor, but I have an accounting degree and over 20 years of experience as a real auditor. I am the only candidate for state auditor that has the education and the experience to be the bookkeeper for the state of West Virginia. Now, many of you that met me in 2016 know that I left the auditor's office to care for my son, Cedric, who passed away on January 7th of this year. When his neurological system attacked his body and caused him to become paralyzed from the neck down, he was unable to speak. The doctors told me that I would never be able to care for him at home. On that day, I looked the doctors in the eye and I said Cedric would want me to fight for him. And that's just what I did. Even though he spent the last 4 years on and off a home ventilator, I cared for my son at home until the day that he died. I share this with you because being blue in a red state, the odds are stacked against us. But there are people depending on us to fight for them. They are depending on us to be the voice for the voiceless. They are depending on us to be hope for those that feel hopeless. They're depending on us to fight against discriminatory policies that place stumbling blocks in their pursuit of happiness. They're depending on us to fight for them to not only survive, but to thrive. They're depending on us to fight for a livable wage for every family. The position of state auditor, it doesn't always get the attention that many of the other positions do. So I'm asking you today for your support. I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking everyone to call their family and friends to help spread our message. I'm asking everyone that can to donate to my campaign so we can increase our advertising budget. You can go to my campaign website at www.mac4wv.com. No amount is too small. We can do this, but we can only do it together. For together we stand, but divided we fall. So if you can remember Claytor for auditor, I would surely appreciate it. Let's show them what making accounting great again really looks like. Stay safe, everybody.
Hello, I'm Bob Beach, member of the West Virginia State Senate and your nominee for Commissioner of Agriculture in the great state of West Virginia. Just dropping in to give you a hearty welcome and to also thank you, a big humble thank you to each and every one of you who helped us in our campaign this past few months and made it victorious on Tuesday. A lot goes into campaigns. This campaign was different. Much of it was social media, but because it was social media, you folks stepped up and shared a lot of our message. And our message is very clear. It's ARC, advocacy, resources, and communication. We believe the Department of Agriculture lacks in all those areas. We need to get the message out there outside the state of West Virginia, grow West Virginia agriculture, and start feeding not just the state of West Virginia, but folks up and down the eastern seaboard. Obviously, the pandemic exposed some weaknesses in our current food system, and we believe by going with a regional approach, we can help ourselves as well as the folks living on the eastern seaboard. A lot to do. We can grow West Virginia. It's economic development. We can put food on the table and jobs and money in our pockets as well. So it's an opportunity we need to take advantage of because agriculture is real. Agriculture has been around forever, and we need to make folks aware of this. Again, today is it's a lot about you, the Democrat Party, and the platform that you're working on and getting us motivated and moving forward. We're all West Virginians. It's a big tent, and we're all welcome here. So again, folks, I want you to enjoy your day. Remember, it's Bob Beach for Commissioner of Agriculture. Please visit beach4wv.com or many of our social media sites where we're very interactive on a regular basis, and we try to be timely in our responses to your questions. But again, I want you to enjoy your time here, enjoy your time together, even though it's on Zoom. Enjoy your time together. We're all good friends with a lot of ideas, and we're going to move West Virginia forward because we're going to grow West Virginia together. Thank you. Have a good day.
Hi there to the good Democrats of West Virginia. I want to thank all of you for participating in, of course, the election and in this convention. I have to especially thank the more than 83,000 West Virginians who saw fit to vote for me so far in the Attorney General's race. It's humbling. Clearly, 83 was not enough in my situation, and all we expect is the rest of them to be tabbed up in a fair and orderly process, and I'm sure that we'll see that here in the coming days. And I have to say that during a primary, we should never forget that we're all Democrats all day long, every time. Although on our strategies we often differ, it's on our values that we have more uniting us than dividing us. In fact, Democratic unification is the whole focus of my race and my theory of how we send Patrick Morrisey back to New Jersey. And that's because Morrisey has won by, in my understanding, receiving about a third of his general election votes customarily from registered Democrats. So if we want to beat him, we need a strong Southern map and a campaign that treats, that generates major enthusiasm with registered Democrats in the Southern counties. That's where Morrisey and heck Republicans generally, have really eaten into us as Democrats in West Virginia. I started off this race aiming to run strong in the cities and strong in the South. That's where I've lived and worked and where my people are. And that's exactly what I did. When you look at the returns, over 70-75% in many of our southern coalfield counties, very strong in the cities, Mon and Cabell and Kanawha, and really strong showings in the Wheeling area, the Jefferson County areas. Now, that's exactly how we'll beat Patrick Morrisey and win back our majorities as Democrats again in West Virginia. I aim to see it happen.
and soon, because Lord knows 8 years of Patrick Morrisey has been far too much. And so to stay unified, we have to share power meaningfully. Win or lose, I want to work with Ben, Isaac, Stallings, Smith, the whole gang up and down the ticket to lift up the voices that have strong support within our party. We all gain when we find real ways to be inclusive. That's who we are, I believe. As Democrats, we sure as shooting all lose when we don't. And so I like always to say that what makes West Virginians such an extraordinary people is that our people stick together. And let's stick together and let's win together in November and, every time. God love you, and I thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart.
Hey everyone, it's Isaac Sponaugle. I'm a candidate for Attorney General for the state of West Virginia. And so I've been asked here real briefly just to address all you great delegates at the state convention. The very first virtual state convention, I used to be a member on the state executive committee years ago, and we'd always meet in Charleston in person. But there's nothing wrong with that. We're going to adapt and move forward. And briefly, just a little bit about myself. I'm an attorney here in Franklin, West Virginia. I'm a candidate for Attorney General for the entire state of West Virginia on a Democratic ticket. And what I've been asked to basically set forth, we've had a rough and rumble primary in the state at various elected offices. And at this point in time, we need to come together as a party and unite behind each one of our nominees, whoever he or she may be. And why is that important? Well, frankly, we've only got one federally elected official out of 5 in Joe Manchin. We've only got one Board of Public Works officer in John Perdue, and we've only got a handful of House of Delegates, and we're a minority in the State House on the State Senate side. That can change. That will change. But you all are going to have to go out there and work hard behind our individual nominees. There's not enough Democrats anymore in the state of West Virginia since 25 years ago, where everything was decided in the primary and was done, everybody go home. We are under 50%. So it requires us coming together as a party. That's why you have a party. We have like-minded issues that we're trying to advance. We got to come together on our side, and then we got to go out and persuade independents, and we got to try to get some Republicans to come over if we're going to be successful. And we cannot have infighting. We cannot be beating each other up because we got hard feelings or whatever it may be after the primary. We're not going to be successful that way. And we have a great opportunity, this fall to really pick up seats both in the legislature, at the state, at the Board of Public Works level, and at the federal level. So I am running against Patrick Morrisey. I don't need to tell you all anything more. You all know how bad Patrick Morrisey is. As one of my friends and colleagues in the House of Delegates, who's a Republican, told me, nobody likes Patrick Morrisey, and that's just the Republicans. So there's a great opportunity there to pick that one up. And so I'm going to ask for your support, both for my race and throughout every Democrat that's on the ballot's race that they're there. We've got to unite because we've got to move forward as a team. And so let's put away the primary. Let's start looking at the general. Let's go out there and do some damage this fall because I know we can do it. I really and truly know that we can do it. But we got to get all on the same page, and that's my plea to you. So hope you all have a great day. Enjoy the convention and take care out there. See you guys.
Hello everyone, this is Paula Jean Swearingen, Democratic nominee for United States Senate to represent the state of West Virginia. I want to take a minute and thank all of you. I am very humbled by all your support. Right now, it's a real pivotal time in West Virginia. We have some incredible candidates from a local level to a federal level. And right now, we need to implement the democratic values that we all believe in. For far too long, too many West Virginians have not been heard. In the northern panhandle, the eastern panhandle, the southern coalfields, and the central part of the state. It's time that West Virginians have a seat at the table. Let's continue to unite our fight and work together. I'm proud of each and every one of you. Let's do this, y'all.